Hello, and welcome to Songs for the Struggling Artist, the blogcast. This is episode 348. My name is Emily Rainbow Davis. Thank you for listening to the blogcast. I got a notification that this podcast went to number 37 in the arts charts in India, which I think is so cool. So welcome, Indian listeners. That's amazing, and I dig it. We also went to 22 briefly on the Good Pods Indie Arts charts. I'm into it. I'm not 100% sure that that's not just because I rated my own podcast well. Like while I was in there, I was like, I may as well give myself 5 stars. What the heck? So I'm not 100% sure that I didn't make that happen myself. But if I did, very cool. If it's you guys, though, that's actually even cooler. So thank you. Today's blogcast is about healthcare, again, a little follow-up to the previous one. And it is called How to Shine a Light on the Dark Corners in Healthcare. When I was going through the great medication refill denial crisis of 2022, very few other people were aware of it or involved. The receptionists and the pharmacy consultants knew I was struggling. Some friends and family heard about it from me. The doctor who denied the refill may have not even been aware of the repercussions of her actions. There was enormous drama happening in a very dark corner. Then I wrote about it. And I learned that other people I know have gone through similar difficulties. I learned that friends of mine were also struggling with invisible disabilities, also denied essential health care, and I started to wonder how we could make this healthcare system that so often does its cruel deeds in the dark more visible. Because when I was in that medication hole, I felt so very alone in it, even though I knew others must have been through it too. When it happens to you, it just happens to you. In the quiet of your home or wherever. It's a very private, invisible struggle. Unless you write a blog about it that somehow goes a tiny bit viral via LinkedIn. I felt so hopeless in the midst of that experience, just lost in the dark, literally sometimes, as I had some migraines, and unclear about how to proceed. What I find especially overwhelming is how many people are likely needlessly suffering like this, just out of sight. Healthcare is shrouded in secrecy for some really great reasons. But the fallout of that is that bad behaviors within it become virtually invisible. And the people who are most wronged are often especially invisible. How do we shine a light on injustice in dark, private, HIPAA-protected corners? If you're mistreated at a restaurant, you can write a Yelp review, gather your friends together, organize a boycott or something. And there are some ways to do that sort of thing in healthcare for individual doctors. But how do you address a whole system? Like this doc who denied my refill. It sounds like she's just a sadistic doctor, and we could just blame her and get on ZocDoc and call her the worst doctor in New York City to get her stars down to 0. But probably the problem goes further down. She works at a practice where almost every doctor is booked 6 months ahead. That means that the practice hasn't hired enough doctors to cover their patient load. When medical practices are businesses, and NYU is a mega business, they're trying to get away with as much as they can to save money. What if they hired an adequate number of doctors and one day one of them wasn't fully booked? Oh no, would they lose a little money? Nightmare! I know those doctors are overbooked. I know the whole game is all just balanced on a thread. So sure, that doctor I didn't see may be a sadist, but she's operating in a system that certainly doesn't encourage her to do anything differently. The doctor I see there now is great and very kind and responsive, but I'm sure she's making extra effort to do that. It is not built into the system to make space for people. It's built to run in the most profitable way possible. Having a disability can already be incredibly isolating. When something goes wrong with our health care, that isolation can grow even more acute. It feels as though it's just happening to me, when of course it happens to others like me all the time. But how can we come together, even if we can't leave the house, to start to shift this dynamic? Is there a way to create a kind of patience union where we join virtual hands and fight? Not everyone can or should disclose their disability. Ableism is so severe in this country and probably around the world that it is a genuine risk to reveal any kind of illness or injury. Look at Chadwick Boseman, one of the most well-regarded and popular actors of the last years, and he felt he couldn't disclose his illness even to his closest colleagues. Probably with good reason. There might have been severe consequences to his career, to his personal life from that exposure. It shouldn't take exposing ourselves to shine a light on systemic problems. Callous behavior seems to thrive in darkness, and light can be the cure sometimes. I feel like I'm searching for a way to document such failures, collect them, and expose the systemic seams, all without further endangering already vulnerable people. There's got to be a way, right? This can't be the best we can do. I left out one sentence from this blog, and I'll probably cut it from the blog also, because it names the practice that I go to, and I saw a tweet about how actually risky that is, and they explained why. The main thing that I remember is that it means that someone could call up and pretend to be you and ask about your whatever personal information they want to, can. And I think, for me, it's probably not a big deal. Like, oh, Emily has migraines? What a shock. But I think as a general rule, to help protect vulnerable people, especially people who are at risk for things like conservatorships or guardianships or those kinds of things, like, I don't know, there's some real dark stuff out there that I'm, glad to be known about, but also sad to be known about. Anyway, so apparently that's why we shouldn't let everyone know where the shitty doctors are. But right, like, I don't know. How do we shine a light on it if we can't say who it is or where it is? Or I feel very confused by all of that. In any case, I also discovered a couple of typos in this one as I read. It happens fairly often where I go like, oh, what was I trying to say there? Because when I'm reading, I just kind of gloss, like my eyes are just like, yes, I think I know what I wrote. And then when I actually have to read it out loud, that's when I discover, oh, I said nor, I meant not. So anyway, so the song today, there are so many songs about shining a light. Oh my goodness. I pulled a bunch of them onto my little playlist where I try and figure out what I'm going to play for you guys. And there are so many. It took me so long to like narrow down the list. I was just listening to that playlist like over and over again, going like, which one? When one wasn't really popping out at me. So then I just thought, okay, I'm going to look at like what the chords look like for all of these, try them out, see what feels good. I narrowed it down to 2 from, I think, 8, 9, something like that. And so I was left with an Electric Light Orchestra song. And the one I'm going to give you, which is by the Raconteurs, because it just went more easily. Once I started playing them both kind of back to back, I was like, all right, it's clear. It became clear. But it was a whittling down. Who knew? Shining a light. It does relate to how many songs there are about lighthouses as well, somehow. These ideas must be connected. I'm very curious about it. Anyway, I'm going to play Shine the Light on Me in just a minute here. But in the meantime, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. If you like the blogcast, please tell someone about it. Like, review, subscribe. You can rate it in all of these places like Good Pods and whatnot. Those are good places. You can help me get even further up the indie art chart. And also, if you'd like to support the podcast, that would be amazing. You can do that on patreon.com/Emily R. Davis. There's also Ko-fi, there's PayPal. All those links are in the show notes. Right now over on Ko-fi, I'm running a fundraising campaign for my residency in Crete. So far, no takers. But, if you feel inspired, I'm going to write more about it, soon. Oh, in fact, I've already written more about it. I just haven't published it yet. But it's coming. Anyway, those are all support places. Also, just your listening is a big support. So thank you for that. Now, here we will have the Raconteurs song, Shine the Light on Me. When I was trying to decide, I was playing everything on ukulele because it was just easier to grab. And nothing really was flying. When I switched to guitar, it became very clear what song to do. And this is it. So here you shall hear me on guitar. And I think that's all. Thank you for listening. Here is Shine the Light on Me. New love comes, so what can you do? When you're searching in the dark, it doesn't matter if you're blind, does it? Can't you see that even lightning's just a spark? But it's so enlightening when you need to shine the light on me. What can you do, love? Ooh, if only we knew. Ooh, what does it prove, love? New love comes, so what can you do? My hands are colder when you're gone. It makes it hard to play the notes I write to warm your mind, but nothing's colder than the song that's never played in a pile of papers left behind. Only God can know how the story's told over and over again. We don't need to know why the flowers grow. Let's just be happy they can. When you're searching in the dark, it doesn't matter if you're blind, does it? Can't you see that even lightning's just a spark? But it's so enlightening